Hey guys, I'm Wayne Nix, your host of Looking for Good Cooking. And today we have great food, great times, and great people for you, right? So thank you and for joining us on today's show because today is Cinco de Mayo. But it's a special day because for us it's Cinco de Mayo Mayonnaise Monday. And what we're going to do today is we're going to highlight a local Louisiana company with Blue Plate Mayonnaise. And we're going to talk about some quesadillas and some sweet cornbread cake. So thank you for joining us today, and before I get into the recipes and dive any deeper, let me first introduce my film strip guests. I have Lance Fields. How you doing, Lance?
Hey everybody, happy Cinco de Mayo.
And we also have my wife, Dawn. She's going to be the co-producer today. And we have some people out in the audience. Who do you have out in the audience right now?
We have Zara Altair, we have Nazim Beltran, we have Cheryl Dews. Let's see who else. I see Kitty Drury, and scrolling down, Maggie. Maggie, I'm sorry I may mispronounce your last name. Help me out here. Unzeta? Anybody? What do you think, Dawn?
Zeta?
Yeah, Maggie, let us know how to say your name so we'll say it correctly next time. Anyway, Christopher Vogelman's out there. Thanks everybody for showing up.
Yeah, Christopher. He had a little joke this morning, little pun, right? Did you see it? Cinco de Mayonnaise. It's pretty fun. All right, so today we're going to talk about some sweet cornbread cake, and we're also going to look at doing some quesadillas. And since I'm from the South, I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the sweet cornbread cake. But let's talk a little bit about Blue Plate Mayonnaise. You're from New Orleans, right? Or how we say it, Nawlins.
Yeah, well, I live here, so I've lived here long enough now. I consider myself a New Orleanian, so yeah.
Well, you know, I've been back and forth several times, and there's one aspect about the story of Blue Plate that I really like, which we can kind of get to at the end because it hits home for me. Dawn, what do you think about all this?
Well, we have lived in New Orleans several times, right, Wayne? I think. I went there for nursing school. We worked there. I met you there in New Orleans. We worked at the same hospital. You were a respiratory therapist. I was a nurse. We met at the same hospital. You're a nurse now. I'm still a nurse. We still both work together. So, I mean, New Orleans special, like you said. We've lived there several times. We may live there again. I mean, things just seem to come full circle.
Now, she's not telling the real story, Lance. You know what happened was she was walking by the causeway, and I was sitting on some rocks, and she picked me up and gave me a kiss. And
That's what happens.
all right? So.
That's not how I remember it.
All right, so my cooking show, I'm not gonna do this, you know, all the way from scratch type of thing, right? Because Blue Plate's already made the mayonnaise for me. But then again, mayonnaise is not that hard to make. It's basically just oil and eggs and a high-speed blender, a little boat paddle is what we call it. Add some lemon and some spices. But let's get started with this cake. So the first thing I'm gonna do is throw in some cornbread mix. But you know, if I was listening to Chef Dennis right now, I said, Wayne, I would do the wet ingredients first. So I'm going to say, all right, Chef, let's get with the wet ingredients. So right now what I have is just some melted butter. And I got 2 of my eggs from the backyard. And the reason why that's very significant is because I had some fresh corn that I was going to actually peel. But Dawn thought it was for the chickens, and she went ahead and threw it outside. So.
Well, the corn, I mean, the chickens like the corn. They like it.
Now I'm putting in, that was 2 eggs, that's a stick of butter. I have, what's it, 1/4 cup of mayonnaise, but I'm doubling the recipe. So that's a 1/2 cup. Right, I'm going to throw that in, 1 can of corn, which has been drained, by the way. And I'm also going to put in some sweet corn, because we like it a little sweet.
And then it's undrained.
All right, we'll mix that in real good. And then I like a little heat, but the wife doesn't. So we make a compromise like we do on everything. And I got a little bit, 1/2 poblano and 1/2 jalapeno. All right, so I'm going to throw that in there. And then again, since I had to compromise, this is a 1/4 cup of sugar. And instead of putting a whole 1/2 cup, I'm going to actually fill it up with honey. So the remaining 1/4 cup, that is.
Nice.
It's really that easy, man. All you got to do is just throw it in there like that. You don't need a blender, just a big spoon.
And we like the local honey. Local honey is good for you. It's supposed to help with your allergies. If you can stick with the local honey, if you can get it unpasteurized, if you can get it raw from someone, because it still has the pollen bits in it, that's supposed to be good for your allergies. But, you know, for the nursing side, do not feed honey to infants under 1 to 2 years of age. So,
right.
Just something, a little additive.
I don't know if you had a chance to check out Mia Boss's show, but me and Wayne Meter and, you know, several of us were on there talking about the benefits of self-sustaining principles, basically. And even on the show with Mark Seidel, we were talking about some of that stuff, too. So that's it. I mean, I threw in this dried cornbread mix. I'm going to hit this pan with some Pam spray or whatever we may have lying around. Throw it in the oven. I have the oven preheated to 350 degrees. So now, Aunt, you ask any questions if you have any.
Okay, yeah, I do. So what about different styles of, or different types of pans that people could use to put their cornbread in, and or is this different than cornbread? Because I know you're calling it corn cake. Is it a different texture? So I would heat up a cast iron skillet in the oven, and then put the cornbread in. But since you're calling this corn cake, and I see you're using a different type of pan, is it going to be a different consistency?
Well, I mean, I make it in this pan, but I'm going to throw it in the oven, and just in case, this is the same recipe that we did last night. And I don't know, let's see what screen we have. So, you know, I put them in these glass just because I think it's easier to clean. And I did one, I lined it with foil for the same reason, just because I'm lazy, right? I want to be able to get this stuff out of here. These are going to the neighbor for their help with our Cat 5 cables. But so to answer your question, I mean, cooking's like anything else, brother. I mean, it's whatever you want it to be, right? I mean, as long as you know the basics, you can go from there. So I'm going to throw this in the oven, and by the end of the show, we should have a nice little brown layer on top. And, you know, I'll give you something through the monitor, I guess.
That sounds delicious. Yeah. Smell-o-vision.
Yeah. So tell us again, what's the temperature and how long you doing it?
I have it set at 350 degrees, and I actually have a thermometer in my oven because I don't know if you guys have this perfect oven at home, but I'm kind of on a budget. So, you know, I got to make sure I throw a thermometer in there and actually see what the reading on the oven is, because we have fluctuations in electricity just like we do with bandwidth, right? So the same thing, I just keep an eye on it. You can also do them in a convection oven too, but I don't have one of those either.
So quick question for you, Wayne. Just back to that earlier point. So is cornbread and what you call corn cake, are those basically the same things? I
mean, yeah. What I used was a box of cornbread mix, right? So I'm saying it's a corn cake basically just because I'm adding a bunch of sugar to it, right, and making it real sweet, and it has the consistency of a cake. So
that was where I was getting to. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna put this to the side. All right, I got that through the show. Well, what else you got for me, Lance?
Well, having made cornbread a lot, again, I like the really dense cornbread. I like to put corn in it as well. I like to put the jalapenos in there, but I like it kind of dense. So I tend to go more of the traditional style. I'm going to be anxious to try making your corn cake and seeing how that's different, and the addition of the mayonnaise. So that'll be a twist for me.
It's going to be extremely moist, all right? That's actually why we like the cake. And especially me adding in the honey, that's going to add a lot more moisture to it as well. So if you do want, you know, that dry type of cornbread, traditional, like Tennessee type cornbread,
right?
You know, you're probably going to want to cut back a little bit on the wet ingredients. So does that help answer your question?
Absolutely, yeah. I imagine there's as many different ways to make corn cake, cornbread as there are people making it. So.
And this recipe was actually on Blue Plate's website. And, you know, again, just like I do with everything else, I do some research, find a recipe, and I just use them as guidelines. And, you know, as long as you have the base structure down, you should be good from there. So.
Cool. Yeah, we got some more people while you're going to the next set there. I mean, we've got some more people that we need to say hi to. I saw Mia Voss is in the audience. Hey, Mia. What's up, Felicia? And Wayne Metter stopped by, and he's apologizing for missing the show live, but he's definitely going to catch the replay. Tracy Baker's joining us. I know she's in New Mexico. She's in Taos. And, of course, a lot of cornbread, corn-based foods up there. Sunny Cadwallader, and I think I got that pretty darn close, Sunny. I hope so. She's joined us in the audience as well.
All right. So, Dawn, do you know a little bit of history about the blue plate mayonnaise and how they came to be? They've been around since the 20s, I think. I think it's even on the back of the jar over here.
Yeah, check it.
Yep,
Check.
1927.
1927. Started by Wesson Snowdrift Oil Company. Had a lot of soybeans in the South. They needed something to do with their soybean oil. And if you think about mayonnaise, it's basically oil and eggs. You can use any kind of oil. The paleo people using different, can use different oils, eggs. I did see something about using pasteurized eggs if you're going to make your own homemade mayonnaise versus the ones from outside. There's a safety issue, but again, we know where our chickens have been. I don't mind making it with my own, with my own eggs. Little mustard, maybe a little garlic, salt, anything like that. Blue plate, it was part of Wesson Snowdrift, and it started first in Gretna, Louisiana. 1941, Blue Plate moves to Mid-City, New Orleans, and they build this 3-story building made of concrete. Slightly hampered by World War II, the plate opens November of 1943, so here we are going forward. That building is now on the National Register of Historic Places. In 1960, Hunt Foods buys Wesson Oil and Blue Plate Foods. In 1974, it comes back around. William B. Riley, whose grandfather founded the Louisiana brand, and we all know the Louisiana brand with their teas, acquires Blue Plate Foods from Hunt Wesson. Then it comes back to Louisiana, and again, what we said before, like Wayne likes to say, what happens to people and everything else from Louisiana.
Yeah, well, if you're born and raised in Louisiana, or even if you come to Louisiana, 9 times out of 10, even if you move away, you're coming right back. It's like that mafia, you just pull you right back in. And I really think it's just the culture and it's the food. Like I said, my neighbor may knock on the door in a minute and come over and get some of this cornbread. But there's another reason why I like mayonnaise, and it's because mayonnaise, a lot of things you can do with it, right? Yeah, mayonnaise. Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in there real quick about your comment about leaving New Orleans or leaving Louisiana and coming back. I have moved to Louisiana 3 times. I've moved here. The first time I moved here, moved away, came back, moved away, came back. So I have family out in Thibodaux, which is the southern portion of Cajun country, and Miss Virgie, who was my sister's mother-in-law. From the first time I met her, she said, "Lance," and in her Cajun accent, which I can't do very well, but she said, "Lance, if you ever walk barefooted and you get the Louisiana mud between your toes, you're destined to come back."
Ah, so you from down the bayou, down there by Thibodaux, eh?
Yep. When my sister's been living over there for at least 25 years now.
Well,
So I've spent a lot of time in Houma and Thibodaux and all of that area.
There's a story about Houma. I could probably tell you several stories about Houma. But what I find interesting is that, today I'm going to do chicken quesadillas for you. And we actually went to a friend of ours who owns a store called Straws and Claws, right? What that is, they make crawfish and they actually sell snowballs. And both of them are great. Matter of fact, we ate all the crawfish, right? But if you're really older from back in that Houma area, you remember this place called the Rouse, because there was only one of them. And that's where you went to go get crawfish and some of the seasonings and things like that. Well, that Rouse no longer is not just one anymore, it's several. And they seem to follow me around too. Thank God, because this morning I was able to go down the street to my local Rouse's and grab me some crawfish. I mean, come on, bro, where else can you do that? And forgive me, Lance, if I say things that some people from out of Southwest Louisiana might know, like bruh means brother, right? So,
Exactly, yep.
But, all right, so what do you think, Dawn? You want to go ahead and start making this mayonnaise, or you got something else you want to give some shout-outs to somebody?
Oh no, I've made my mayonnaise. I'm good. And the chicken, if y'all saw the pictures earlier, the chicken came and helped us yesterday. She was in the kitchen for some reason, so she was helping us out while we made our own mayonnaise, and she's gone now, so we can move on to the quesadillas.
That's not doing anything to help dispel the notions about Southeast Louisianians by having chicken in your kitchen.
Look, man, we got love for everybody, right? Look, but she knows she stays too long, she'll be not, she'll be for dinner, not.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She actually has a lot of personality, right? She'll follow you around and all this other stuff. So, all right. So I'm gonna make this little mayonnaise for you. And again, we pretty much doubling the recipe. So get yourself a little fork and scoop that out like that.
All right, so we are moving to the chicken quesadillas. On the recipe, if you're following along, we started with 1/4 cup mayonnaise, and we're doubling all these ingredients. 1/4 cup mayonnaise, 2 teaspoons minced jalapeno, 3/4 teaspoon sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin, 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne, 1/8 teaspoon garlic powder, dash of kosher salt. And I think Wayne may have some additives after all that's said and done.
All right. Well, I'm a nurse right now, Ants.
Yeah, I do.
How you like my little measuring cups? Can you see that?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So everything she said, right? I got a little dash of cumin. Got some paprika for some. It's not much heat. They always say it adds heat. It doesn't really add much heat to me. I guess.
Paprika? No, I don't find that it does.
Cayenne. I got some. That's garlic powder. Now I went ahead and, if I was Paula Dean, I would have mixed the salt. I would have mixed the pepper, and I would have mixed that garlic powder together. That's basically what her little secret recipe is. There's some sugar. And
What's the sugar to do? Balance out the other seasonings?
Yeah, it's kind of a little tart. And again, if you know my wife, she likes everything sweet. That's why she married me.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I didn't have a look, so I had to get by on humor and food. Now, if you taste that, it's actually pretty good. But it's supposed to be a Mexican dish, so I always wind up adding things to it, right? And of course, for those who want to be a little lazier, you can actually go and get one of these perfect pinch things, right? They have different types of Mexican seasoning. But my secret to all of my recipes, when it comes to Mexican, is coriander.
Oh, yeah.
And let's see if I can do this, right? So I'm gonna add about a fourth. Let's see. Let's see how close I get.
You're doing a Justin Wilson right there.
Oh, really?
That's what he used to do. He'd pour it into his hand.
Right, check it out.
Stop and he'd say, "Y'all don't believe me? Look at this." And he'd scoop it up and be like, "Oh, I don't need to measure, no."
Yeah. Justin Wilson, yes, again, his recipes were really basic, because if you're from Louisiana, if you go next door and have some gumbo, it's not going to be like your mama's. It might be a little similar, but every gumbo is different, and that's kind of hard, especially when I go to like Colorado or something like that. People say, "Oh, I'm dying to have this gumbo," and then when they try ours, they're like, "Oh, well, that was good, but that wasn't what I was expecting." Of course, they loved it, but again, it just boils down to just like everybody else. Depending on if you're north of I-10 is really how we say it down here in Youngsville. The gumbo starts to change a little bit. But so I added a little coriander, and then I lived in Texas for a little while, so maybe some of that Tex-Mex might have rubbed off on me.
Now, someone saying, Tracy Baker says, try some smoked paprika that can bring the heat. I don't know if we've tried smoked paprika. Is that true? It can bring the heat?
Yeah, there's so many different types of paprika that I know there are some that do have heat, but sort of the standard American version that you would go buy at just your basic supermarket typically is going to add a little smokiness to it. But yes, I mean, paprika is just ground up chili, super finely ground. So again, depending on which ones that you get, the heat level changes.
So one more thing I'm going to add is just a couple of drops of lime juice, right? And I really think that kind of perks things up. Typically, I have a lot of limes outside, but I lost about 3 trees with this crazy weather we had down here this last winter.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
So the sauce that you're making right now, where are we headed with that? I'm not quite sure.
All I'm doing is basically adding more seasoning to what I had on the recipe. So I'm going to do the same exact thing.
All right.
And right now I'm going to heat up the little pan. I'm going to put it on medium heat. Yeah. This is a little convection, or what do you call these things?
Induction.
Induction, convection. I got that mixed up in school too.
This is making me really hungry, watching you cook this. I love Mexican food, so.
And it's about to smell good too. So,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Shot.
Yeah, Tracy Baker had also mentioned in the comments about hatch green chili. And for the connection for us, Tracy, I lived in Albuquerque for years and years, so I totally feel you on the green chili and the cornbread. Good stuff.
All right, so what I'm going to do, now quesadillas, sometimes they're folded half moon shape, but again, that's really dependent on what you want to do. So I'm going to take me a little spoon and slather some of this on here like this.
So that's the mayonnaise, the seasoned mayonnaise that you just made, right?
That's everything we just did, Lance.
Okay.
that's the glue that's going to hold it together.
Right, so I'm going to throw that on there like that. Now I have some chicken breasts that I just roasted, well, grilled on the grill. You can go grab a roasted chicken. That's actually what I went to do, but they didn't have any made yet. So I came home, grilled up some chicken breasts on the grill. Throw a little of that on there, and we like our vegetables, so I'm going to add a little bit of red chopped onion. Again, I got some more poblano seeds, pepper jack cheese, and tomatoes too. Right? Now, I also went and picked up my other little secret out the yard. You know what this is? Not parsley, I can tell you that.
Me, I can guess. I know what it is.
All right.
Cilantro.
Yeah, exactamundo, right? So I'm going to stick that in there just for like a minute or so, and I'm going to show you a little trick.
Flip.
Yeah.
It's a Cajun circus.
So you can just throw your little plate like this, grab it, flip it, right, and then slide it back in.
Wow, that was quick. Yeah.
So
Nice trick.
now you see I got my hands all in this. That's not really professional. But you're at the house, brother. I mean, what you gonna do at home, right? So
So what it's doing, it's warming up, the cheese is melting, the mayonnaise mixture is holding everything together. Is that right?
yep. Basically, it acts like a little glue, right? And these tortillas, I mean, I didn't hand ground them. Again, I went and picked those up from the store as well. And I mean, that's basically it, right? You can do this with chicken, you can do it with steak, you can do it with crawfish. It's whatever you really want. So the next one I'm gonna make, I'm gonna do with some crawfish. And what else you think? Now, Lance, I know you're in New Orleans. They always have these festivals. What's the latest festival y'all have? I know Jazz Fest was running.
Yeah, Jazz Fest just passed. The next one is coming up in a week, and it's the Bayou Boogaloo along Bayou St. John.
Okay.
And for anybody who's watching who doesn't know what Bayou Boogaloo is, I'll give you a little highlight. There's a bayou, the only bayou that runs through New Orleans, almost all the way through the city. And every year now, for a few years, there's a little music festival. There'll be arts and crafts, food booths, and all kinds of things like that. And you sit along the water's edge, and you can get in a kayak or a raft if you want, and roll along. But that'll be, I believe, that's over Mother's Day weekend. But I need to double check. But anyway, that's the next one.
Okay. Now we had the Bro Bridge Crawfish Festival this weekend.
The big one.
Yeah, big one. crawfish capital of the world is what they call it.
Isn't Allie Landry from Brobridge?
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know everybody. I mean, I know it's a small community, but all right. So I'm gonna do another one of these little chicken quesadillas real quick. Now we also had the Festival International this couple weekends ago. That was pretty interesting. It's getting to be bigger and bigger every year. Have you heard about that?
I saw that you posted it, but no, I don't know what it is. Tell me something about it, because I have an idea of what it means, but what is it?
Dawn's also, you know, she's really more French than me, right? I'm not French at all. So her people are from Nova Scotia, and I'm sure you're aware of the story of Nova Scotia being kicked out of Canada and all that jazz, right?
Yep.
So Dawn can tell us a little bit about that if she wants.
Yes, the Cajuns, the Grand Dérangement of 1755. Yes, what we know as the Cajuns, they were Acadians in 1755, got kicked out. Of course, the story is they came along the East Coast trying to find some shelter. Some of them landed along the East Coast, some of them landed in the Caribbean, and some of them landed in Louisiana. And the story is the native people, the native Indians were very friendly. The Cajuns assimilated, you know, lived off the land. There's a great history in the Chapalaya Basin. And, you know, they used what was available to them. So we have this great Cajun cooking. And now, you know, especially where we are now in Lafayette, we have a great mixture of Cajun and Creole cooking. And Festival International in Lafayette, Louisiana is kind of a combination of not only local Cajun Creole heritage, but international heritage as well. There were bands from all over the world. Of course, there's French-speaking bands from Canada. One of our favorite bands, we saw one from Prince Edward Island that I really liked.
Now, Kristen DeGraff does something with bands, right? Don't you know Kristen?
She does. She has a show. It's called My Music Hangout,
Mm-hmm.
and once a week she started doing live show broadcast in an HOA.
You know, because I was wondering that could be something. You know, HOAs, it's pretty interesting. The fact that you can see and you can talk to all these different people. And, you know, I finally realized the other day, I was watching, you know, Ronnie Denster and David Amerlin and Martin Shervington. And, you know, they keep reminding us how Google's basically, Google reminds me of everything I need to do, right? They have all these little reminders. It also gets to pick who my friends are, right? It kind of corrals me in this little thing. And I realized something. That's just like my wife. Maybe that's why I get along with it so well, right? Kind of keeps me in track.
Oh, you're wrong for that, Wayne Nix.
I'm just saying. It's just
Oh,
fun.
I heard you say it too. And now it's on. Now it's on. Saved on a video. You could look back on this.
Yeah, we're watching. We're watching.
But she wants what's best for me, and I mean, I really think that's where their heart's intended too. You know, it's really just to try and join. I mean, I didn't know you, Lance. I mean, I've only been knowing you for a few weeks, right?
Yeah, 2.
Yeah, 2.
Now wait a second. In internet time, that's like 12 years, because you know how fast everything moves on the internet. So yeah, we go way back by traditional standards. But much like many things in New Orleans or in Southeast Louisiana, you just show up and it's like, oh, come on in, we're gonna feed you. You know, you want to hang out, whatever. That's one of the things I love about living in Southeast Louisiana is the familial connectivity that everybody has, and people think it's. I tend to under talk about how nurturing people are here, just because most people don't believe you until they experience it. They're like, I've never even met this person before, and they gave me a pair of shoes and 2 cold beers for my trip, and you're like, well, yeah, that's how we do it.
Right. If you've ever been to any of the UL or the LSU, you know, tailgating parties, you'll hear that from diehard fans. You know, same thing. That you're going over to Georgia, those sorts of things, and they're just amazed that even though you know, we want to fight each other tooth and nail, we'll sit there and have a beer with them. So, like I said, it's kind of what we do, right?
Indeed. Okay, so a couple of questions for you about the cooking. How long do you need to leave that in the pan? It doesn't seem like it sits in there very long.
It's not, and honestly, it's this little convection thing, man. It's heating up real quick. Now, all my ingredients, besides the raw vegetables, are already pre-cooked. So basically, all I'm doing is getting in there, getting the tortilla hot, and melting it together, right? So, like I said, this crawfish was already cooked. It was boiled, thanks to Rouse's. You just throw it in there and warm it up. It's really quick. Matter of fact, I didn't know it was going to be this quick, right? I think it's because I was prepping everything. But it's the same thing. It's really not hard to do, especially if you have leftover roast chicken or you have leftover steak or something like that. The key is just to really kind of cut it real thin and take anything you may have. I mean, you can do this with ham and cheese and tomatoes, brother. All right? It comes out actually pretty good.
So we're at about the half-hour point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking maybe John and I should look over and see what's going on with comments while you're wrangling your crawfish quesadilla over there. How's that sound?
Yeah, I can. Now I can smell it. So sorry, Lance, you can't smell it.
Now we're adding the temptation of the smelling part. Yeah, that's it. Let's see what we got going on in comments. Well, I guess this would be a good time at the half-hour point to ask the audience if they have any questions about ingredients or any tips that they have for making their quesadillas. And while they're getting those queued up, we'll look through. There's a couple of funny things that passed by. Sonny says, induction, convection, is that like conjunction, junction, what's your function?
That
one's going to haunt you a little bit. John Harris mentioned that gumbo is like chili in a way. There's so many different ways to make it, and it's all called chili, so the same thing. I mean, gumbo, as you said, you can go next door to your neighbor's house and have gumbo, even if you have a pot on your own stove, and it may taste similar, but it can still be completely different dishes. Which is one of the things I love about Southeast Louisiana cooking is whatever you have in your cabinet, you put it together, and sometimes you find your favorite new way that you hadn't ever tried just because you happen to be out of an ingredient and tried something else.
Well, staying, I guess, kind of traditional with the Cajun roots is we have a limited budget and limited funding. So we try to recycle and reuse a lot of things.
Yep.
But again, like I said, this is real. I mean, you can do peanut butter and jelly with tortillas, and they actually come out pretty good, right? I wouldn't put that in the pan and heat it up. But seriously, we've already went ahead and we've tried some ham and cheese, and that comes out pretty good too. Let's see, what else?
Yeah, so comments just about the South and, the Southern hospitality in general, the SEC football games that y'all had mentioned, just sharing beer afterward. It's always been great hospitality. I mean, no matter where we've gone, I think.
Okay, we have a question from Tracy Baker, and she says, Wayne, is there any worry about the mayonnaise breaking from the heat?
Breaking? You mean like coming apart? Now,
yeah, but that's
one
what
thing I
you call
didn't
it when
mention.
the sauce breaks.
Well, I'm just putting such a little thin layer.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, here, I'll peel this one apart. And let's see, you can see.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you're just heating it to a good temperature, but you're not cooking it. So
right, that's what I was saying. Everything's kind of pre-cooked already, and I'm just basically melting it together. So
yeah, I think mayonnaise breaking would be if you made mayonnaise from scratch. The chance that it would break might be there, but I wouldn't see that happening with blue plate mayonnaise.
No, I know what she's saying, and typically, like the next show, we'll probably have them. We'll probably actually do some real Cajun cooking, like starting with a root from scratch, right? But this is our show today, Cinco de Mayo, and today is also our anniversary.
Happy anniversary!
So.
Thank you. Happy anniversary, Wayne.
So how many years in internet time have you all been married?
In internet time? Oh my goodness.
You know you got to multiply it by about 10. So
Well, it was
Oh.
05, 05, 05, so I could remember, right?
so how many years have you been married?
It's 9 years, right?
Yeah, I was messing with you.
Yes,
I can
yes.
count.
We did that on purpose. It was 05, 05, 05. So we'd have no excuse not to remember it, okay?
Now, of course, I ruffled some feathers, right? Because we didn't get married in the traditional church. So we got married on the beach, actually, out in Sandals and the Grill. But to make up for that part, because we kind of already knew that, I went ahead and proposed in a special place. So where did I propose to?
We went to France. We went to Paris for to complete one of your courses from postgraduate work, and we went to Notre Dame Cathedral, and that's where he proposed roughly 12 years ago.
Oh, that's a beautiful story.
You want to hear the rest of that story?
Yeah, of course I do. Are you kidding?
I had a backup plan, right? You know, Amsterdam's not too far from France, especially on those little trains. So if she said no, I already had my things booked, brother. I was going into coffee shops, right? But I got lucky.
Mhm. Yeah, you got lucky. Yeah.
So what's the rest of this? Is that the rest of the story? Tell us about Amsterdam.
Well, I never went. We did go to Switzerland. You know, I talked to this guy Nazim too. I met him on the internet. He's invited me over to Italy. I could tell you what, I sure would like to get out there and try some of that Italian cuisine. And we are going to Florida. We're going to Orlando in October, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But I say that because I'm thinking of Chef Dennis is out there somewhere in Orlando, and he's been very supportive of this whole idea of what I'm trying to do as well. I'm hoping to be able to get out there and meet him.
Well, that'd be, yeah, absolutely. Y'all do a show together? That would be brilliant.
So now, you know, again, he's a chef, and like I told him, I said about the only similarity that we really have is I'm a nurse, so I know what it's like to be on my feet for 14 to 16 hours, right? and nursing is just like customer service as well. You have all these irate people you have to kind of to put up with and make sure you make sure you can get them happy and healthy. So, but that being said, you know, he makes masterpieces, and I just kind of throw together some things I think is going to taste great, right? So I'd love to learn some techniques and some tricks from him. That's true. And there's this other guy too in the Caribbean you were telling me about. What's his name? I can't remember real quick.
Larry Fournier?
That's him. That's him. He's the guy that helps teach people through the HOAs, right?
Yes, he does. Did you guys get to see the Scottish play cooking demonstration that they did? With him in Trinidad, and then they had connected the hangouts from here in the U.S., somewhere in the U.K., Larry, and they all got together with students, young students like middle school age, and they all got together and cooked in the style of what would have been served during medieval times. And he was, that's one of the things that he does to give back to the community. So yeah, between you and Chef Dennis and Larry Fournier, if you all three joined up for a show, look out.
That'd be pretty awesome. Like I said, Dawn's really big into her Cajun and ancestry from Canada and things like that. And I think that'd be a cool show too, maybe pull one of those Canada chefs, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So what are you doing now with the quesadillas? You slicing them up?
I'm slicing them up. I know you want some.
And the cornbread.
This is kind of mean to myself, sitting here watching you cook all that delicious food, and I'm like, well, I can hear the tortillas crunching, and
it looks really good. Let's see.
I have one of these cakes that we prepped yesterday. Like I said, I'm going to give some to the neighbors, but they'll get some fresh cake today. So.
And about how long is the corn cake that's cooking? About how long does that take?
It takes about 45 minutes.
Okay.
Matter of fact, another 10 minutes, it'll be good.
So yeah, I would serve that up. So I see you getting your corn cake ready with the quesadillas, And you had something to drink with it too earlier.
Oh,
Don't forget your drink.
I gotta get my drink on. I got a little margarita. So.
Ooh, Cinco de Mayo. No, Cinco de Mayonnaise.
That's right. So, I'm not making this real pretty, but that's because I want to eat a piece.
It looks good. Can you see it? Juicy. Yep. Can I zoom in?
Full of crawfish.
There you go. How about that?
That looks good.
That looks good.
That's good, bro.
Good job. There you go.
You can see, just so you know.
I'll come to napkins. That looks good. That's good. Worth a shot, everybody?
Everyone's, you can tell they got real quiet. They're just watching what's going on.
Good stuff, bro.
Drooling over it, and then he's got his margarita.
Hey, babe.
Very good, thank you. Do I get to take some too? Let's see.
All right.
Okay, so wait.
Any other questions while I'm smacking away?
Well, I'm thinking maybe we should tell the audience. I know most people know what crawfish are, but a lot of people refer to them as crawdads.
Right.
Maybe have never tried them, but have heard of them, mud bugs, etc. So maybe whatever you think, the Southeast Louisiana description of crawfish is to people who don't know too much about them.
Crawfish is $5 a pound. That's what it is.
Wow.
That's about the average cost right now. But I mean, crawfish is just a little crustacean. I don't really have. I should have saved some so I can show you how to peel some. That would have been a good thing too. Maybe next time. Want to make sure. But basically, we go. Typically you pull them out the basin, and again, it was the Indians that actually started boiling the crawfish, right? And we learned it from the Indians, and we just added our own flair with the spices, etc., etc. Just like we do with everything else. So a lot of the Cajun and Creole, and you know the difference between Cajun and Creole, because that's another thing that a lot of people get kind of hung up on, right? There's some debate about that.
Yeah. So
in my understanding is that Cajun, of course, are from the Nova Scotians that were kicked out, and Creole is more of a blend of like the Spaniards, right? And especially in New Orleans, you always have these people that say, "Oh, look at all the beautiful French buildings." It's like they're not French; they're actually Spanish. That's why if you go down to Florida, they look kind of similar, right? So, but crawfish, they have different seasons, and it's starting to be a real big thing. Now I know there's a big push because the Chinese are trying to ship a lot of crawfish over, and the real concern with that is they seem A, they don't taste as well, but B, they tend to have more stuff in their water, if that makes any sense, like pollutants, and so Louisiana is actually it's basically the only state that's actually well suited to growing the crop. Now, to tell you that I know the ins and outs of everything on crawfish, I don't. But I can tell you who does, just like everything else, right? So Sarah's husband, Chad Daigle, you can give him a call and he'll tell you everything you need to know. But that's actually one of the things I want to do with the show, Lance, is I want to be able to get local people on the show, because just because I'm from Louisiana, with the last name like Nick's, I am not Cajun. Right? Now, I was born and raised here, but I married into the Cajun family, right?
You're Cajun now.
Yeah, adopted coon-ass is what you call me, right? You might just call me an ass, because I know she does sometimes. But hey, that's just part of being married, right? So, but again, I feel like the love and everything in this area, with all the stuff that's I've experienced in my life, it pulls me right back in. It's the flavor, it's the food, it's the Cajun, it's just the camaraderie. So, and you're in New Orleans, and I can tell you, brother, I'm the one who's seen you before the end of the year, just because you're a hop, skip and a jump away, right? So,
right.
Now I feel like I've been domineering, the conversation. Again, what I like to do is take people that have local products and talk to them on the show, just like we're talking to you, and show me what is it they do with their products, and maybe I can take them and tweak them a little bit. But again, it doesn't have to be just products. It can be people. If your mama knows how to cook a good gumbo, I want her on the show too. So, right? So anybody that can teach us anything, that's really what it's all about. It's just trying to basically spread the love, right? So that's what it's all about, man.
Looking for good cooking.
That's right. We're always looking for good cooking.
Yep. You know what I can't find over here? Well, that's not true. One place I finally found after all my years of living in New Orleans that you can go into a restaurant and order them is corn nuggets.
Hmm.
Mm.
Now, look.
Mm.
I don't know if you can see this.
What corn nuggets is. Go ahead, Wayne.
Right, so it's a little moist.
Okay.
I don't know if you can tell. It's not really like your cornbread
No,
consistent.
see, yeah, it's much denser.
Yeah.
And definitely more moist. And so that's the because of the liquid additions that you put in.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. But that's part of the mayonnaise, right? That's the whole point, is to give it that moist consistency. Now, we only made 2 things with the mayonnaise. There's all kinds of stuff you can make. Typically, I use it in my potato salad, right? So you can go to Blue Plate's website, and I know they have recipes online there. And again, it's just basic guidelines. It's to your taste. And that's how I started cooking too, because when I moved to Dallas, everybody expected me to cook well, and I could cook the basics. But everybody said, well, what's that extra flavor that they add? And honestly, it changes every time, so it was kind of hard to get that answer pinpointed. But we're at the 45-minute mark, pretty close, aren't we?
Yep.
So basically, this is the end of the show, and I know we had something special for a guest. Do you know anything about that, Lance?
I heard a little something that you were going to announce something at the
All right, so I have this one special guest that I wanted to tell her that there was this convention that we're supposed to go to in Houston for nursing.
Yeah.
But can you blue box yourself, please? It's not really a conventional nursing. It's actually Jimmy Buffett tickets. So anyway.
We're going to see Jimmy Buffett?
Yeah.
Is that a nursing conference?
Yeah, so it's Jimmy Buffett, baby.
Thank you,
Anyway,
dear.
so
Thank you.
Well, happy anniversary to you both. That's awesome, and we got to see it right here on the show. You didn't have any idea, did you, Dawn?
No. I mean, I got the days off to go to the conference, but he didn't tell me it was Jimmy Buffett.
So hopefully the camera shows her red and not pixelated. But anyway.
A little bit, yeah. She got a little blush going.
So this is the end of our show. I'd like to thank my guests in the audience, and one more time, it's been a privilege and a blessing to let me broadcast through your home, your phone, and into your time zone, right? Join us next time, because it's your place for great food, great times, and great people. Now, we'll have the next week off because we're actually going to a cooking conference in Florida. And after that, we do plan on being back on the air. And if you think you could be a good guest, or if I might be a great guest on your show, ping us and let us know.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I had a really good time. Thanks, everybody in the audience, for watching. Come and see us in Southeast Louisiana. Wayne can cook now, so
hey, come on over.
He can cook it up.
All right, guys. So we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.